Good evening. Welcome in RNQ is classes block number 4 Islam and other religion unit number 4 Confucianism and Shintoism. Four point one Introduction. Confucianism is a complex religious, ethical, and political system built up on the ancient Chinese traditions and had tremendous influence on the people of China up to the 20th century. Confucianism had its glory and fall during and the reason of different dynasties of China for almost two millennia until it was due by the rise of communism. Shintoism is such a religion of the people of Japan. It is a way of life rather than a set of religious concepts or dogmas. 4.2 Confucianism and Introduction. Confucianism has come to mean the school of the scholars and is an ethical and philosophical system gradually originated from the techniques of Confucius in the eastern part of Asia. It is a complex religious, ethical, and political system built upon ancient Chinese traditions and had tremendous influence on the people of China up to the 20th century. Confucianism had its glory and fall during the reign of different dynasties of China for almost millennia until it was subdued by the rise of communism. But there seems to be a recent revival of Confucianism as primarily derived from the Neo-Confucians in the mainland China and the neighboring East Asian countries to give a more comprehensive metaphysical concept. Non-Confucianism has come to integrate the Taoist and Buddhist ideas into their own like never before, despite the fact that many forms of Confucianism has come to express their reservations against the Buddhist and Taoist tradition, irrespective of their importance or popularity to the Chinese life. 4.3 The religious framework. As a religion, it is one without positive revelation, with minimum doctrinal dogmas. In his the worship is centered more on the offerings to the dead. The notion of duty lies much beyond the proper morals and include almost a detailed account of everyday life and the ancient times of China. During the life of Confucius saw the prevalence of a nature worship trading towards a monotheistic tradition, and it is to this following that Confucius adhered to with the nature gods were all respected and worshipped. The four quarters of the heavens, the moon and the stars were all under the directions of the supreme heaven god Tian on or the god Tian on the sun. Sangha, supreme lord. The other spirits worked under him in this framework like ministers in complete obedience. The Supreme Lord exercising a began providence over men upheld moral law, being aware of everything done, even those in secret, is dictated punishments to the evils done by natural. ब्लॉक नंबर हाँ फेंका नहीं है, लेके आया गिर गया था. directs from the supreme heaven God and on the Sancti Supreme Lord to the order. Other spirits walked under him in this framework like ministers in complete obedience. The Supreme Lord exercising a vengeance providence over men upheld upheld moral law being aware of.
आपको पूछने वाला था
पूछा ना मैंने।
पानी भी चालू नहीं किया।
अरे उसको चार्जिंग को लगाया है।
अभी लगाया?
अभी तो लगाया है उसको
तो निकल के लगाओ ना।
अभी थोड़ा सा रहने तो नहीं होता है, आता ही नहीं पानी।
तो अभी लोग आदमी पानी पिएगा कैसा?
तो 2 मिनट रुको ना।
इधर पूछा भी नहीं, सर रख दिया यार।
हाँ किसको? वो ऐसे ही था ना।
ऐसा था, मैं लगा के ऐसा था। झूठ बोलता है।
खोला मैं क्यों खोलूंगी?
ऑटोमेटिक खुल जाता है, हाथ पे है। 10
दिन का सामान पड़ा है उसको कौन खाएगा?
इसको देखो सब सही हो, गंदा कर रखते हैं।
Providence over men upheld moral law being aware of।
तो उठा देगा पहले वो।
हाँ ठीक है। ये 2 पार्सल कभी करने गए?
अभी हाथ में पैसा ऐसे डाल के दिमाग में।
हाँ ठीक है। Everything done, even those in secret, he dictated punishments to the evil doers by natural calamities or premature death, or by forcing misfortune on the impure, and thus asserting moral order. Moreover, the tradition of a strong patriarchal system was an offspring of the religious belief that happiness and glory of the patriarchs depends to a great extent on the right conduct of the living offspring. It was considered the duty of the living descendants to contribute to the glory of the dead ancestors by right conduct. Through Confucius himself did not disagree. This is a motivate for rightful living. He stressed more on love or the doing of virtue for its own sake.
देखो, अरे पेन दो किधर है? मिल रहा है। अरे जल्दी मेरे को जाने का पहले। हेलो। हाँ वो मैं पूछा था उन्होंने को, बोला बात करके बता तू। मैं पूछ के मेरा तो इतना डोमेस्टिक का ये नहीं ना, इंटरनेशनल रहता तो फटाफट होती है। मैं उसको दिया सामने वाला को।
In the lines of the Kantian concept of goodness, the principles of morality and their applications to concrete human situations in varied relations are as envisioned by great sages of the past through not revealed has been embodied in the sacred texts. The religion lacks positive divine revelation, and thus is more of a wisdom that was providential as promulgated by the sages who were born with the wisdom of the heavens to instruct men in God will. Following the path of rightness as laid down by the sages is humanity possible, considering the basic good nature of human which was not irreversibly corrupted by vicious impulses. Confucius considered a man to be good in nature and did not heed much even to the natural tendency for evil. Evil was considered to be an influence of the bad environments and an over impressive giving the appetites of the nature, but at the same time this was something that the human will could easily afford for to take control of. There are no references in the writings about an extremely caused downfall of human, and hence humanity starting in need of a redeemer to take him to his days of past glory, thus lacking and history of salvation. Through there is a mention of mention of a prayer at a few instances in the scriptures. No obligations is made as to the compliance of having everyday prayers. The Chinese notion of sacrifice is just the offering of food, expressing the relevant homage of the worshippers, and the concept of propitiations through blood is not prevalent in honor of the spirit guests who are invited and are thought to enjoy the entertainment Solomon practice are held. This is celebrated with a variety of food and drinks accompanied by vocal and instrumental music and pantomimic dances. The officiating ministers in all these practices are not out priest but the head of families feudal laws and adopt of it. The thing as Confucianism lacks a class of priest. Confucianism but only heeds to the immediate teachings of Confucius, but also the pre-existing writings to which Confucius gave his approval. Thus, the sacred books, as considered in Confucianism, is a collection of sacred writings, including those venerated even in the days of Confucius, on traditional records, customs, and rites sanctions under the patronage of Confucius. There are two categories of writings: the King classics and the So books. The five classics are Ching, classic of history, collection of documents of speeches dating from the latter Han dynasty 23 to 20 CE. Ching, classic of orders, collection of 300 poem and songs from the early Chu dynasty 1027-402 BC. One classic of changes, collection of texts on divinations based on set of 64 hexagrams that reflect the relationship between yin and yang in nature and society. Chun Ching Spring and Ottoman Annals, extracts from the history of the state of Liu 720 to 484, said to be completed by Confucius. Li Qing, Classic of Rights, consists of three books on the rights of property. The four books are Lu Yin and Lex of Confucius, Chung Yang, Doctrine of the Mean, the Hasu, Great Learning, Mang Tezu, Manisius, purport for religion of virtues, D. More than the making of virtues, men, Confucianism looks upon the formation as a man of learning and good manners who combine the qualities of a saint, scholar, and gentleman by the religious practices, more of a comprehensive development of the human race rather than a religious formation was a heavy so in hands rite or rituals in the Confucian traditions has a different meaning of purpose than found in other religious traditions. It can't be separated from the everyday life to life of man and from practices other than in this religious life through the books. The books promoted rituals strongly. Confucius was for taking it more in that spirit, often even compromising them when necessary. Right stands for a complex set of ideas and is Confucian meaning ranks of politeness and property to the understanding of everyday's correct place in society. This character of rights could even be traced to the religious meaning of sacrifice. Ritual has a twofold goal. At the external front, it is a way of letting people be aware of the status as to their societal setup and their relationships. From an internal point of view, it is to remind people of their duties amidst other and what is to be expected from them. Formalized behavior becomes progressively internalized. Desires are channeled, and personal cultivations becomes the mark of social correctness. The most powerful way of cultivating oneself in right living is the very sincere and obedient. adherence to the rituals can be seen as means to be find the balance between the opposing qualities that may otherwise lead to conflicts. Complete rituals by assigning status of to everyone based on the situations, and by creating a hierarchy of sort in relationships through protocols and ceremonies divide people into their rightful groups. Confucianism believes in the basic goodness of man. Developing virtues in one life is to be of ultimate importance, and there needs to be love for the exercise, right knowledge, and anything conducive to the development of the virtues has to be eagerly sought after. And in the line of Socrates, Confucius also made the name's conclusion that vices sprang from ignorance. The whole of the ethical teachings comprise of the following concepts. In conclusion, Confucianism, ren benevolence. Ren is translated broadly into benevolence, goodness, or humanness. From the words of one of Confucius, it becomes clear that by cultivating goodness of humanness or in oneself and assisting other in the same procedure, one can be called humane. As for humanness, you want to establish yourself, then help others to establish themselves. You want to develop yourself, then help others to develop themselves. Being able to recognize oneself in others, one is one was in on the way to was in on the way to being human. And analects 6 to 28 SHT 50. Benevolence as a fundamental virtue in Confucianism is a kind regarded for the welfare of others in need, and the willingness to help them out in the whole frame of an ideal man. This is considered to be a cardinal trait on Analects 8v13. There is repeated mentions of the golden rule of Confucianism about the most fundamental source of all virtues. It is read thus: when a disciple asks him for a guiding principle for all conduct, the master answered is non-mutual goodwill. Such a principle, what you do not want done to yourselves, do not do to others. Confucius had a positive approach to dealing with injustice rather than just dealing with it in considerations and kindness. He taught to equate injury with justice and kindness with kindness, and neglects XIV 36. He seems to have viewed the questions from the practical and legal standpoint of social order. To repay kindness with kindness, he says elsewhere, act as an encouragement to the people to requite injury with injury, act as a warning, like XXIX11. Thus the proactive positiveness of dealing with injury rather than positively letting it happen and not letting to the mind to take an offense. Due to do the same has to be militated if the society had to be good and striding towards better life, a life propriety. It is translated to be propriety, revenge, courtesy, or ritual, and is another virtue of supreme importance in Confucianism. It is associated with the property rights or rights of goods, manners. Confucius says, look at nothing contrary or to ritual. Listen to nothing contrary to ritual. Say nothing contrary to ritual. Do nothing contrary to ritual. And like 12:1 STT 55, the concept of rights and ritual takes on a wide array of meanings. Meaning in Confucianism, like the other religion, or to include a holistic aspect of human life, embracing the whole spectrum of human life. It promulgates man to do the right thing always at the right time and place. It is interesting to see how it enlarges its sphere to encompass Chinese etiquette in the vast number of conventional customs and usages, rather than limiting itself to religious rites or the moral conduct. Hundreds of rules of ceremony but gives even in the times of Confucius, all of which one had to be well aware of in Other to disappear the duties slightly, and more importance was given to the spirit of these rules than the blind following of the same. The sense of obligation to the conventional uses and the conventional uses and the rules of moral conduct rested mainly to on the sanction and authority of the unsaintly kings, and as a final result, like in any other religious setup, it looked up to the bill of heaven, the different rites in Confucianism, like capping marriage, mourning rites, sacrifices, feast, and interviews have to be completed with a maximum of sincerity and loyalty, as the commissions of them itself is considered to be a thing of improved prudence. And while Zhong loyalty is all about the Confucian moral hierarchy. In the moral hierarchy established with the purpose of constructing a moral structure for society, everyone is assigned to a particular role depending on how one is related to others. One moral duties are defined in terms of the roles one plays in the political social hierarchy. It keeps shifting as the same person comes into various roles of life in relations to others, but what is important is the loyalty with which he delivers what is expected of him. The positions on the hierarchy hardly matters, be it the king or the ministers or a nominal citizen. The underlying principle remains the same, accounting for the and for the realizations of one's duties. The virtue of loyalty is not a devotion directed specifically toward one superior. Rather, it is directed toward the role one plays. Being loyal means doing one's question whatever one does, thus it becomes more of a moral assignment than a social assignment, as Johang is doing just what one is expected to do in this present situations, life or according to the position that he she is placed at in the society at that point of time. Loyalty as applied in a deontological sense in the Confucian's moral hierarchy compasses a moral theory that focuses more on moral duties or obligations rather than on rights of entitlements. It constitute a basic tenet of Confucianism, which is an ethics built on demands on oneself rather than on other sincerity. Sincerity was much more than a mere social relations and extended up to include one's other sincerity was being truthful and straightforward in speech. Faithful to one's promises, consistencies in the discharge of one's duties to others, and even more a loyal man in Confucian vision was a man whose conduct was rooted in the love for virtue without fail. From this innate goodness emulates right conduct towards others, thus making him a right person irrespective of the fact whether one is alone or in the company of others. Empathy through Confucianism remains a deontological moral setup, coming to the very practical level of it. There needs to be some motivations as to why one should be good. There is the importance of empathy popping up, and the Confucius pictures this beautiful in the promulgations of the virtue of empathy. It is in the lines of the supreme moral principles of Christianity, like do to others what you wish them to you. Confucius, on being asked what was that single word which could which could people to do good for the entire life, replies it was you or empathy, and went on to elaborate, thus do not impose upon others what you yourselves do not desire. Every person's in the Confucian setup is bound in a multi-layered web of mutual relationships and is expected to dispenses befitting duties in lieu of the positions that he is at that particular point and place. It is here that empathy comes into play as the constituting principles of the Confucian moral life. In moral life, the moral hierarchy, one is expected to be loyal of his or her role, and by intermixing this loyalty with the virtue of empathy, one comes to know what the other expects to him of him. Thus, with the combined force of loyalty and empathy Jong-su on comes to the awareness of the desires of the other in the opposing role and discharges now what becomes a duty with utmost sincerity and loyalty. Thus, a perfect picture of a rightful society takes form in the teachings of Confucius, in which the union of the Sioux and Zhong becomes indispensably interconnected. Filial piety. Filial piety, as goes its literal meaning, shows how the childlike reverence and respect has to be expressed to the elderly, extended even to the beyonds and against us. This has been considered supreme of all virtues and is analogically extended to the five relationships that a society has to take care of for its further functioning. In the following list of relationships, and vision expect for the relations in a friend or friend to friend, or stand for the emphasis on respect to the elders that basically derive from a son's duties towards his parents. One of the most important virtues of Chinese life, filial piety. Filial piety is considered to be the source of all other virtues, and is given great emphasis Confucianism. It is the virtue that promotes a man or to pour forth of love and respect towards his parents, contribute to their comfortable life, and bring honor and glory to their life by being successful in life, being considered the supreme of all virtues. This had base as well at at times, the son was to lead a slave like life until his parents lived with the supreme goal of placing them. This reciprocity could be manipulated by complaining the son to be good and the son obedient, and at the same time giving almost a free hand to the father. The son was to follow the words of his father in filial obedience and love, no matter how big he was. 4.5 Relationships in Confucianism. Confucianism has a distinct and unique way of assessing importance to relationships. The hierarchy of status assigned to individuals and the reciprocal obligations and benefits attached to them by all means envision a just society and rightful living. The relationships as proposed in Confucianism have far-reaching influence on ethical and social living, as the rituals and rights are mostly societal in nature. The hierarchy of relationship comes into focus to this. Thus religious practices and the rightful living of the society remain inseparable. The affinity of one has to others can be assigned to the social life alone. There is the government when the prince is prince, and the minister is minister, and the father is father, and the son is son. And like X to Y 11. Ruler to subject, father to son, husband to wife, elder brother to younger brother, friend to friend. The same individual stands in several of those relationships, simultaneously discharge duties in different aspects of life, as reverence is expected of the juniors in the hierarchy towards the seniors in its difference, meaning the same nature of benevolence and concern was the right of the juniors in all walks of life. This sense of mutuality is well prevalent and works as a was a binding force of relationships in many of the the societies in the East Asian countries to these specific duties were prescribed to each of the group. Befitting the social standing and relations to others. The importance given to the social harmony of the people is what is to be seen in the relationship. The same filial love that binds a father and son do is expected of the king and the subject and the subject. The beauty of life in its most sublimity becomes visible here when the law has to takes its course depending on the positions of the offender or to the defendant. It is important here for us to note that this setup did not end with the stories of the living but extended up to the world of the head deed or of the deed wherein the living were expected to carry out their filial duties towards their and ancestors. This led to the venerations of the dead, which forms the most important part of the life of those people and the foundations of their religious practices. 4.6 Shintoism and introductions. People in very culture have a way have a way of living and a set of concepts about nature and life. The religious practice and beliefs of these people are to a great extent influenced and affected by this view about life. The outlook towards the world and dealings with nature often turn out to be religious principles and rituals attired in the mysterious beauties of religion, which religion is a transformations for all the modifications of a particular way to life of the people. It will encompass their entire life more than the mysterious and transcendental concept. Religious life then becomes grounded in the reality and the closer the nature to the nature, and other brings out that Shintoism is such a religion of the people of Japan. It is a way of life rather than a set of religious concept of dogmas. 4.11 Let us sum up Confucianism, sometimes viewed a philosophy, sometimes as a religion, is perhaps best understood as an all-encompassing humanism that neither denies nor slides. Even so, Confucianism, as followed by the people of China, deeply influenced the spiritual and political life of the people of these nations. Confucius, through considered the founder of Confucianism, can't be one in the same sense what Buddha is to Buddhism. Confucius was someone who tried breathing fresh vitality into a system already existence by rationalized the practices, analyzing the meaning, and in the process making it more systematic and rational. He had profound love for the traditions and considered himself a master who was supposed to take the lead of preserving the culture and advancing it. In Confucianism is a way of life encompassing all of human life rather than limiting itself to the religious barriers and practices. The political aspects of one's life was taken into good account, along with giving the due importance to the rituals and religious traditions. The making of a true human being becomes the ultimate aim of codifying all these traditional values and customs are for the people to learn and follow. Confucianism in the sense can be considered as a great moral motivator in the formations of rightful living and a just society. The values with their deontological outlook have offered that humanity is in need of a true sense of religious life, enshrined in the attires of spiritual and moral values. Shintoism is an identifiable universe way that is all preventing the way of a kami or a kami no michi. Or Shinto is the name of the religion formed out of the life of the Japanese people from the great past. This was codified into a religious format at the face of the threats posed by the invading religions with in the intentions of organizing their courts and places of worship. Shinto by implying the spontaneous following of the way of kami of good differs from the religions as it is it but a way of living and has still come to this day without much damage to its uniqueness and naivety. Understanding the religion of Shintoism through it is not a ISM will grant one a clear understanding of the Japanese culture and the nation. Shintoism is devoid of the complex philosophical debates over grand dogmas and the imposing nature of the rituals. Shinto is a natural and real spiritual force with over the Pir Vedas, the life of the Japanese, a religion of the heart.